This presentation will show you the concept of simple interest, which is our first topic this year. Our learning goal for this presentation, or this unit of work, begins with using your knowledge of percentages to investigate the effect of borrowing or investing money using simple interest. So the way this works is that when you invest money in a bank, put your money there, you basically allow the bank to use your money to grow and make money elsewhere. And they do that by lending money to other people and charging them interest to use your money as well. So, as you can see in the little diagram here, over time your money gets bigger and bigger. Now, when you borrow money, the same thing happens, except you have to repay extra money. So, when you invest money, the bank pays you interest for being able to use your money. The longer your money is in the bank, without you being able to touch it, such as a term deposit, the more interest they pay you. So term deposits, you basically put the money into the bank for a period of time and you don't touch it. You're not allowed to touch it. So you might put it in for 2 years and they'll pay you a certain amount of money for not using that, for not allowing you to use your own money. The longer you have it in, the more money you make. The other side of the story is when you borrow money, you pay a percentage of what you borrow for the right to use the money lent by the bank. And these are the important terms. This money you pay back, or that they pay you for using the money, is called interest. That's determined by the interest rate, which is a percentage. So this is the formula that we're going to be using. I equals PRT. It's very important. And those variables are as follows. I is the interest earned or paid. So you earn money if you invest, and you pay it back to the bank if you borrow it. P is the principal. That's the amount of money invested or borrowed in dollars. R is the interest rate, and that's a percentage per annum. PAE is Latin for per annum, which means per year. So let's just highlight that. That's important information. So per annum, per year. And we always convert that to a decimal by dividing by 100. And that's what the percent sign looks like. It's a 1 and a 0, 0 is 100. And that slash is like a divide. It's just a visual clue for you to help you out. And the last term, or the last variable, is T, which is time in years. It's also known as the period. Now don't forget that is in years. In simple interest, that's very important. Okay, and that's how much time the money is invested, or in the case of a loan, borrowed. Now, when you borrow money from the bank, you have to include the original amount you borrowed, the principal, plus the interest earned or paid to work out how much you have to pay back in total. Okay, so A equals P plus I. The most common mistakes students make is that they neglect to include the principal when they pay things back or borrow money. Okay, so here's our example. We're going to calculate the interest earned on the investment below. So we're given the variables already. P, the principal, is $1,500. R is the interest rate. You'll notice here we've divided it by 100 to convert it to a decimal. So that's important information as well. Divided by 100 to change to a decimal. T is the period, which is 5 years. And we just substitute those values into our formula. Now, as we know from our algebra in grade 8, when you have variables next to each other, it means multiply them together. Okay, so this is principal times the interest rate times the time. So that's substituting in. P is 1500, R is 0.1, and T is 5 years. And we multiply those three together on our calculator. And that gives us an answer of $750. Now you can probably do that in your head. 0.1 is the same as dividing that by 10. So we divide that by 10. We get 150. 5 times 150. Let's just work that out. 5 times 150. So 5 times 100 is 500. And 5 times 50, that's half of that again. That's 250. So that's a total of $750, which is the answer we got. So that's a way to check your answer. So this is only the interest earned. If we wanted to work out the total amount of money in the bank in that account, we'd have to add the $1,500 with the $750. Okay, here's our second example. This is a problem now. So we're going to look at this by starting with highlighting the critical information. So some keywords we're looking for: invest or borrow. So that's how much money we're investing. That's the principal. The bank was offering an interest rate. Rate is our R value, 0.14% per annum. She wants to save money for a holiday, and that's going to take place in 2 years. So that's our time. How much money would she have? So we're after the interest as well as the final amount. So let's look further. We summarize that information. P equals 500. R is 14%. Once again, we divide it by 100 to make it 0.14. T is 2 years. We write our formula, and we substitute in, same as before. So the difference here for a word problem is identifying that critical information, either by underlining or highlighting it, or by using the method we'll show you in a minute with our problem-solving diagram. So we take that, multiply it in our calculator, and we get $140. Now remember, that's just the interest earned, so we need to add that to the amount of money we put in the bank originally to work out the total we have. So that's this formula here. You don't need to use this particular formula if you understand the concept, but some people prefer formulas. So we take our principal, $500, put that in there, and we take our interest there, and we substitute it in there. So I'll give you a bit of an indication there. The principal goes in there, and the interest goes in there when we add them together, giving us a grand total of $640. Now, this is because it's a word problem, we finish with a sentence, which is Kylie would have $640 to spend on a holiday. Now, I'm going to show you how to do the same problem using our C Plan Do Check problem solving board, which you may be familiar with from last year. So if you recall, the board is made up of 4 sections. The first section is what's important, what are we trying to find, all the key information, which is what we did by highlighting before and underlining. What strategy we're going to use, what maths is going to be involved, the actual working, and then a check. And this is what I mentioned before. In the center of the board we have the actual problem itself. The same as before. Highlight the important information, so just bear with me. We're investing 500, interest rate of 14% per annum, and it's in 2 years. How much money will we have? So the same as before, we're summarizing the information, but now we're doing it over here in this corner of the board. P is $500. Our interest rate, which we convert to a decimal by dividing by 100, is 0.14, and T equals 2 years. Our strategy is going to be the simple interest formula, and that's over here. We may have other things we want to include there. So our working is as follows. Always write the formula, substitute in as before, calculate the answer, and then we have to add that to the principal to find our total of $640. Now these are the same steps as before. It's what do we know at the start of the question, so stating our variables, stating our formula or formulae that we're using, substitute and solve. So it's exactly the same as the previous attempt. Now we want to check that our answer is correct, and we do the same thing before. Sometimes you'll be asked in an exam or assignment to verify that your answer is correct. But you should be doing this every time you do a question, doing a quick check mentally in your head or on a calculator to see that your answer makes sense. When we ask you to check or verify in an exam, then we want to see that working. So here's our estimating the reasonableness of our solution. Does it make sense? So we take our numbers here. We've got 500 and 2. That's our principal and our time. We're multiplying them together. So 500 times 2 is 1,000. And the other part of the equation here, we then multiply by the 0.14. So we take 1,000 times it by 0.14, and that shifts the decimal place 3 places. Let me get the pen up for you. So it shifts it 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Putting the 0 in there, that's 140, which is the answer we had for our principal here. So that's that answer there. Okay. So quick check, doesn't take long to do. So that's how the simple interest formula works. It's not used commonly in a lot of banks nowadays. We have another one which you'll learn about in grade 10 called compound interest, which affects most interest in the world. So from this lesson, or this brief presentation, you should have developed an understanding of how to calculate simple interest and how to ensure that you can then compare those against different values.